I am going to double check that we're live and hopefully, oh yes, our stream is working. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another stream of HashiCorp Live. It's been a while. I think we had a couple cancellations. We also had HashiConf Europe last week, so we were all very busy. But today we have an awesome team. I'm very, very excited with us here today. And I think they're all going to simultaneously code something, which I'm very excited about. And I also want to say thank you to all of them for being on late. It is late for all of them. And they're here to interact with you, answer your questions. This is the CDK for Terraform team. I will start with Daniel, then Ansgar, and then Sebastian, if you could introduce yourselves.
Yeah, sure. I'm Daniel. I'm the newest hire of the team. I joined 1.5 months ago. And I'm from Hamburg, Germany, and happy to code today.
Yeah, I'm Ansgar. I joined 1 month before Daniel, so I got a small head start. No, and I used to be from Hamburg as well, so that's quite funny about our team. But currently I live in Bernburg, Germany, so a bit further south. And yeah, happy as well, and quite excited how this will turn out.
Yeah, I'm Sebastian, and yeah, I'm around for a while already, and yeah, I'm quite happy to be here. So I'm also like a software engineer on the team, and yeah, quite excited to be here and see what we are able to do today.
Okay, so I guess let's talk first. What is the CDK for Terraform? It sounds a lot like the AWS CDK. So can one of you explain exactly what it is?
Yeah, sure. Well, CDK for Terraform is the cloud development kit for Terraform, and it allows you to use like familiar programming languages to provision essentially any resource in any provider, any module in Terraform. So that's one of the distinctions to the AWS CDK, which operates on CloudFormation, and the CDK for Terraform is actually well, like the newest member of the Terraform platform, more or less, right? So, and yeah, so far we support 5 languages: TypeScript, Python, C#, Java, and most recently Go. Go is still experimental. And yeah, today we are going to code in TypeScript. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, in the end, it allows you to use the Terraform, it allows to use the local workflows, which most people are probably familiar with, but it also allows you to use the Terraform Cloud or Terraform Enterprise. So pretty much in the same way as the Terraform CLI itself.
Nice. So I'm going to admit this. I'm not very good at JavaScript or TypeScript even. Very familiar with Python, more familiar with Golang. So what is your comfort level in terms of JavaScript? Were all of you, did you have JavaScript or TypeScript background before working on the CDK for Terraform?
Should I go first? I think as the CDK for Terraform's base language is TypeScript, I think we should at least feel all very comfortable with this language. And I think that's certainly the case for us, for me at least. And so yeah, it's actually my main language over the last years, not the one I started with, but I'd say I feel comfortable with TypeScript. How about you, others, Daniel?
Yeah, same. I also worked in TypeScript most of the time last years. Also the language I started with, but I wouldn't want to write this stuff in PHP. Sebastian?
So I don't have a long background with JavaScript, TypeScript in terms of like the main language. So my major background is Ruby. So I used to do like lots of Ruby on Rails stuff over the last 12, 13 years or so. And more recently, in the last 2 or 3 years, more and more transition to the cloud workflows, use lots of Terraform, but still Ruby, like a bit of TypeScript here and there. And yeah, like TypeScript and JavaScript used to be like a toy language for me. So like I just did it in side projects here and there, and then yeah, bumped it up gradually over the last 2 years.
That's good to know. So what are you going to show us today? There was VS Code involved in the sharing, in the screen share. There was nothing in this editor. So I'm curious what you're planning to code today.
We're going to plan to build a project from scratch. So we'll start with a blank slate and go through the entire process of building a tool that will actually help us in long term, I hope. So we found that we all want to listen to the feedback of our customers and to see what new issues are there, what bugs are there, and triage them like relatively in time. But it's sometimes a bit chaotic if all of us jump on issues directly. So we want to make some sort of PagerDuty thingy that notifies us about new issues that come up, and that still has some kind of scheduling involved, like for our demo today, for primitive, but like simple scheduling involved so that we all can take turns and take a look at the GitHub issues.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think like so the plan is we do it in AWS. So we are going to use the AWS provider. Potentially we give the GitHub provider a try to set up a webhook, which triggers in some resource in AWS. Yeah, and like for the entire, like for what's inside of AWS, you'll see, well, we laid out a plan. Let's see how that pans out in the end.
Awesome. So basically, there are a lot of things outside of the AWS provider, and hopefully we'll be able to show how CDK puts it all together, right, across these different providers. Okay. All right. Shall we begin?
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm going to share the screen, and we're all going to work inside the same one. So let me share.
I'm going to acknowledge, I think this is the first time we've had 3 people pairing on the same code space.
Yeah, so my question would be, so the others, can you type in the same thing as I'm at the moment?
It's not safe, so we can't. You need to save something.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have an empty directory.
All right. Yeah, it's just the dummy file because we're going to kick off this project from scratch. So if I go to the file tree, it's all empty, so nothing to see. So the question was right, what are you going to build? Because there's nothing there yet. We plan to switch every 10, 20 minutes, kind of head over to the next one and yeah, mop our way through. We haven't decided who's going to start. Should I just, or someone else?
Yep, please start. I
Okay.
do a 15-minute timer for you.
Yeah, all right, thank you. I'm gonna spend time
Timer?
talking. No.
I'm so excited.
And then I gotta stop in the middle of the sentence, and you all have to be at the moment you just jump over and finish it. Yeah. So Sebastian already said we're going to start a new project for the CDK for Terraform with TypeScript. So, and are we going to use local state or are we going to use Terraform Cloud? What did we decide on?
Depends on, do you have Terraform Cloud set up locally?
I have.
Then
so yeah, then that's
the easiest way. Then,
yeah.
Since.
All right. So
onto the cloud.
Yeah, with the CDK TF CLI that I already installed, but we have tutorials for that. There's the init command to scaffold a new project, and I can even run this without specifying anything else. It will ask me for a language. Could have also specified that. So we're going with 6 TypeScript. Hope that's right. I already named the directory I'm in, so it's proposing CDK/TF GitHub duty as we named the project for now. I'm gonna keep it. Simply getting started. Yeah, keep it that way. I don't want to do something. And it's starting to set up Terraform Cloud for me because I have token local for our CDK-TF team. Gonna use that. So CDK-TF demo GitHub duty or without demo?
Without demo, I mean.
Gotta. Oh no! I can't press.
What just happened there?
I tried to move the cursor to the left, but apparently the CLI tree doesn't support that. So I'm going the same way as I haven't changed anything.
Okay.
But I'll print for that later, so we have the first notification for that.
That's the good thing of having 3 people over there. So CDK-TF, GitHub, duty. No typos over here allowed. So it's creating the Terraform workspace for me, Terraform Cloud workspace, that we're using for our Terraform state, so for the remote state backend. And it's also doing an npm install to install all the dependencies. It's a TypeScript dependency manager. And if I make this a bit more visible, well, that looks terrible because everything is zoomed in. There's a help that's printed.
For those who are, you could click the little up button next to the X, and maybe it will go full. It will sort of go full screen. But
over here,
yeah,
because it's so put out as a file at the same time, so we can forget about the terminal. It's just telling us the commands that we can now do, but we're going to use them anyway. So that's just boring theory. And I think we're going to get into it. So at first, some basic stuff maybe. So we have the main TS file created for us, which has the rough structure. It has the workspace name that we just chose after I mistyped it and did it again. In it for the remote backend for Terraform Cloud. And it also has some first my stack, which is open for me to add resources to it. And with the CDK for Terraform, as we can use all the Terraform providers and all the Terraform modules that are available, there's the option to specify them or those that we might need in the cdk-tf.json, so in the config file for the CDK for Terraform. But there are some providers that are also available as pre-built providers. So I can also install them via npm. And for example, for AWS, so for the AWS provider, that is the case. And that's what I'm going to do, because generating the provider locally takes a bit of time, and we don't want to spend time looking at the screen, computer doing things. It's already quite warm. So let's not add something.
Yeah, so just to clarify for those who aren't as familiar with this, what does it mean by generating the provider? Is it the libraries and the objects by which you can consume them? Can you explain a little bit of how the objects get or the resources get exposed through the provider?
Yeah, so to go one step further back even, the CDK for Terraform, the way it works is it generates Terraform configuration, not the HCL that you usually would write for Terraform, but there's also a JSON representation of that. That's called .tf.json for the file format. And that's what the CDK is producing, the CDK for Terraform. And to do so, it generates classes, and I'm going to go into that soon, that can produce this JSON output. And to have them work, we have some generation code that takes a Terraform provider, for example, the AWS provider, and gets its schema from the provider, which describes what the allowed inputs are and what attributes are available, for example, on a Lambda function resource, and then generates some TypeScript, for example, in this case, classes that we can use to instantiate them, so some constructs. And they will then produce this Terraform that is happening under the hood for us. Maybe Sebastian, do you want to add something there?
I think it's easier to install it and look at the code.
That's true. Let's do it that way. So Do you know it by heart?
At cdktf/provider-AWS.
So I don't have to look it up. I think we have a list of those that are pre-built in our GitHub somewhere, and they also.
I think so. Like a few of them are listed in the help file.
Oh, okay.
But it's probably not a complete list.
Oh yeah,
just a selection.
As we're here, I'm also going to install the GitHub one, and I forgot that --save is outdated, the old npm days. So we're using that one as well. Yeah, let's first make this have a look into it as you proposed. So for AWS, there are all those generated classes that look very similar to AWS services, and there's a reason for that because they are. So for example, we could take and let's read what it is. API, gateway, REST API. Now this is transpiled, or it used to be TypeScript code, but it's now a JavaScript or compiled to JavaScript. So it's a bit harder to read, but as it's ECMAScript 6, we can at least understand a bit more. So there's this API gateway REST API class that was generated. And you can over here see the docs for Terraform. You should see the browser, yeah. Where this resource came from. So that is produced out of the AWS provider, the API gateway REST API resource. And we can over here see how we would use that one in HCL. And so there's a body, for example, I could set. And if I go back to the code, we can see that there's some config that's put into this, and there are no types anymore because this is now JavaScript. But we can see there's config.body, so it exists at least. So those are the generated providers.
It's essentially like a one-to-one mapping, right? So like you have resources, you have data sources, and like for each resource of each data source, you have one file, and it's like really a one-to-one mapping of the attributes. And we expose the types essentially in TypeScript, and from TypeScript they get generated over to the other languages. So that's how we get to feature parity between all the different languages, since we only have to build it once in TypeScript essentially, and then the rest is fully automated by JSI, which is one of the projects by AWS CDK, which makes it possible to transpile it over to the other languages. But yeah, like one-to-one mapping, and yeah, and abstraction is up to us.
That's right.
Up to the user.
Yeah. So
like a stack. Like a stack is essentially like a Terraform workspace, more or less. Even though like Terraform workspace is quite an overloaded term in the Terraform world. But what I mean by that is like it's like the working directory, if you have the CLI, is essentially equal to like a working directory for Terraform itself. So like that's essentially like one stack.
I think we're going to see that later when we deploy something. Yeah. What I would start with at first probably would to maybe we could, so Sebastian had most of the idea already. So his head is containing all the information we now need. And as far as I remember, when we talked about it, we need some things, and I'm just going to write them in comments so that we can have them here as some kind of notes, and then we can go on from there. So what our flow or process in the end is going to be. So we are having some kind of GitHub webhook on new issues. That one is then, for the GitHub webhook, we are putting some endpoint at AWS that is called by GitHub when a new issue is created. And I thought that this one would be inside an API gateway. So and that is supplying this endpoint that we are putting to GitHub. And then that's the part that I don't know much about. Sebastian wanted to do some event handling and magic term, not magic, step functions. And what we in the end want is a request to Slack bot that we created, which sends a message to about issue. Yeah, so reaches someone of us, and that someone is going to rotate on maybe weekly basis. So each week someone else has the Holy Grail and is allowed to answer our new GitHub issues. So we're going to put that somewhere in between. So we probably also need, I don't know how I would denote that, maybe like, I have no idea, a DynamoDB table, so something where we can store data. I will just write it like this week.
Yeah, so that's pretty much how I laid it out, or like how we laid it out yesterday on paper. So I was briefly looking into this today, I think we are likely going to skip event handling and step functions and probably plug the Lambda function directly into the AWS API gateway. If we still have plenty of time in the end, I think we can do another iteration, but it's a surprising amount of resources that you're going to need to make the event handling work properly.
Yeah.
So let's just shortcut it, and yeah. And I think Ansgar, you said something like this yesterday already. So
yeah. So when we talked about this, I was thinking, okay, sounds nice with the event handling and those failure modes that we could support. But I've never worked with it, and if it doesn't work, we will be debugging for hours. So at least I would be. So yeah, the shortcut would be just cram that logic into Lambda, and yeah. So yeah, let's
like make it work. What's the term? Make it work, make it right, make it fast. So let's start with make it work, and then
I'd also say code is a liability, and we need to do services so that our code is breaking, but someone else has to fix the downtime.
Sebastian, I think I need to clip this segment of what make it work, make it right, and then make it fast, and then the code is a liability.
Yeah. Feel free to post everything. So.
Yeah, for that sake, I will probably just inline like the 3 IDs of us and just select on a random basis basically, and just But yeah, let's.
That could be for the start. Should we? So now I would not dare to say as opposed to Terraform, because there are Terraform modules, but with the CDK and a high level language, we have the opportunity to structure our code in more natural ways. So we could build kind of modules or classes or some resources for us that could collect everything that we might want to have in a single place. So we could group things together. And
Sounds
that
good.
would be my next question. And I have the feeling that my time is up.
Yeah, it is. It actually is.
Yeah, so feel free to take over.
Yeah, shall I?
Who's going to start? You two?
I'm not sure. I could start. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
then let's, how do we start?
Yeah, probably we would start by an API gateway, right? That seems to be the first thing we need.
Yeah, so let's.
So let's go with like Then you can't see the cool auto completion I have now. That's a shame.
Oh, why not? Oh, since it's yeah,
because
sure.
my my editor.
Yeah, sure. It's
but,
not.
You'll see that later when Ansgar comes in again.
Why doesn't the auto completion? As a side note for those who are watching, so usually you would have the auto completion, or VS Code automatically looks for the libraries and does the auto completion. Oh, now it works.
Oh,
yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
So it's like really bound to the editor then, which sort of makes sense.
That's the live sharing part, probably. So
yeah, probably. So like, and I also can use the auto import part, which is my most heavily relied on feature.
Should we use the Zoom way of controlling? So I could also hand over screen sharing by Zoom.
Nah, let's just keep going.
Okay.
Let's not change with Lloyd.
More work for you, less intelligence, and so from the editor.
Yeah,
like
it's
on
hard
the right
mode. What?
What's this red text on the right hand side?
It's just saying that there's no API GET way because there's a typo.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
It's just some error lens, so I installed that for VS Code. It's just putting it on the right instead of hovering. So that's why everything is red. Not that I like that, but.
You know what's great? There's a great, it's a great feature because now everybody can tell where you're typing and what you're adding. So by extension, you know, it worked out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna prefix everything here with the name of the stack, which is cdk GitHub 2D. So we kind of know what's going on.
Right, so we need the protocol type to be HTTP. All uppercase. So unfortunately, we don't really have enums or anything which would support these values, since I think the other one is not really sure what it is. I think there are two values for this, which would be valid. But like if you hover over the protocol, okay, it's not your own. Yeah, okay, I see.
Yeah, Ansgar is over.
Yeah, should I have?
If you hover over the protocol type, then this link takes you to the documentation, to the protocol type field. Exactly. So it's like two values, which would possible HTTP and WebSocket. I would love to have these values in line somehow as as an enum or something. So yeah, well, trying to come up with ways to make this possible, but that's more we don't have this information at hand when we generate the provider. So that's why we still have to reach out for the documentation here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Do we do anything more on the API gateway?
Sorry?
Do we do anything more on the API gateway? Is there?
Oh yeah, plenty.
Oh
no, it's not done yet.
So are these the required attributes, or these are the optional? Now we're going to the optional.
These are the required. Yeah, exactly.
The required.
These two.
Yes. So these are the all the required ones, and that's what we are tracking. And for the most part, it makes sense. Sometimes they're like dynamic dependencies between attributes. Like if you provide this one, like attribute A, you don't have to provide attribute B, but you have to provide like at least one. And in this case, we mark them all as optional since we don't know it better when we generate the provider. But yeah, I think for this resource,
I think the documentation is also all optional. So I think we did the right thing here.
Yeah, sure. Like, yeah.
And I think we're ready to actually plan this stuff, right? Because it's now.
No, well, you could try to plan. Let's just see what happens.
So it synthesizes now, which means I can't take you there because it doesn't show that for me now. But Ansgar can. In the cdk out folder, there is the stacks folder, which has the name of our stack in there. And there we see like our CDK/TF JSON that Ansgar previously mentioned with the gateway in it, and the Terraform folder with the this normal to these Terraform projects.
API gateway that we defined.
Exactly. So you see an error message there, and so what we don't figure out automatically, like
oh yeah,
we don't. Yeah.
You forgot to initialize the provider. I forget that every single time.
Yes, exactly. That's yeah. You still have to definitely like define the actual provider, and yeah, since there are scenarios where you have more than one, or you might have more than one, we can't really make guesses there.
And in the case of the AWS provider, I guess there is a parameter to take in an alias as well, right? Because if AWS, so some providers have aliases for multiple regions. I mean, in this case, you would instantiate one provider for Europe or whatever region you're using, and I guess you would have to create a second provider object for the second region.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a common case is, for example, Lambda at Edge, so which has to be deployed in, I think, US East 1 or so. And like if the other resources are living in another region, you still have to deploy it in that region. So that's one case. Yeah, right. So now we have the provider. So I'm not sure about the credentials. They are probably just magically there.
Is that a question? So for Daniel?
Yes, it's a question.
Okay.
I didn't put them there. So, oh no, wait.
So I don't think there are credentials. And for reasons we don't want to just put them on screen. So
you can pause the share. Yeah, if you pause the share, that way Ansgar could log in during the terminal.
I just sent the instructions to Sebastian because I hope that he will just do them. But I can also. Yeah, that's the link to documentation.
All right.
I could also take the browser out of the equation for the screen sharing if that's possible in an easy way. Probably is. And then I can do. So now it should just be VS Code, not the browser. Still see VS Code?
I see VS Code.
Yes. So I'm all stealth now.
So what you're going to do is you're going to configure Terraform Cloud to have the right credentials, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's ignore the plan. I mean, let's just keep going and skip the plan for now.
Yeah, that's good.
So what we want is
we need a route, right?
Yes, I think we do want to have a route. Just thinking.
You can also define that one in the Lambda. Point the API gateway to the Lambda for whatever comes in, and then inside the Lambda, find some magic nested deep string that nobody can guess, so nobody can send issues to us.
That's what you meant, yeah. No, like what I would probably do is, hang on, I have something here which doesn't make sense.
Could we read it as an environment variable, or would that output it somewhere? I mean, it'll probably output it in the JSON, right? But
so what I'm currently doing for the AWS credentials is something separate. So I think they are thinking about how we could secure the API that GitHub is going to call on behalf of us, or for us if a new issue.
Yeah, let's ignore even let's even ignore the authentication part. Let's just hook the Lambda function directly up to it.
Okay. So that means we need Lambda function next, right?
Yeah, but to make this yeah, what you're going to need, let me copy one thing, which is a construct which we keep copying across like several projects, since well, it has a native dependencies. I will show you what I mean. So are you following me by any chance?
Where?
Currently not.
I just created a folder in like lib, and there's a Node.js function. And so what this is like, what this is doing is it's like a helper which allows us to easily deploy Node.js-based functions out of the project, including dependencies and all the stuff that we potentially need. And that's made possible by ES-Build, which is like a Node.js bundler, written in Go actually. And but it bundles Node.js code, inlines all the dependencies, and then we have some deployable artifact out of this. And we do have this, like as I said, we copy this around like for a little bit, like between different projects. I also tried, or like I think we tried last week or so to create a construct, like an npm package which we can ship to the npm registry, which we also did. So I mean, there's an npm package. However, the npm package is built in a Linux environment, and ES-Build is a native extension. Therefore, it's built in a native way for Linux, and you can't use it on macOS. So we have to fix this construct before we actually can use it. And as long as we haven't fixed it, we keep copying it around. So what we need is, I can't type, can I? We just need ES-Build. And that should be it. The rest should just work out of the box. And this will make it way easier to create the Node.js function.
So we basically use this build sync function, right?
No, you use.
So we have like a Node.js function with resource. A resource means some entity inside of the Terraform CDK realm, basically. We initialize it with some properties, so path to the project.
Path would be the path to the actual file, which you have now,
okay.
which you have in our project. When you scroll a bit down. I see.
Isn't it a folder now? Okay.
So that's live share not following you.
Oh snap! Yeah. Can you?
Live share following me.
I was I think there's a way for you to raise all of our attention.
Cool.
So you could have probably taken it over, but I finished the credential part already. It worked like a charm, so.
Great, that's good to know. So yeah, basically we have this, we get the working directory by path resolve and run the bundle function over here, which runs the ES-Build command to bundle everything in a common.js format from Node.js. And then we take this path to this directory that ES-Build produces. And what we do here,
let's just use it. I think it's going to be clear if it's better to understand when we actually use it.
Yeah, cool. My time is actually over, so you can take over.
So use it, Sebastian. Should I put the browser back into the equation for the screen sharing?
Don't know.
I'm answering this question myself. So
So are you following me?
Wait a sec. Now I show the browser again. I'm going to follow you wherever you are. There you are. You can. That's nice.
There we are. Hello, Sebastian.
What?
We are following you. We just
We're
found
following you.
There was some overlay opening, and I had the great choice of who to follow of both of you. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, so let's just get a. Why don't I see? Is it possible that the auto completion is a bit broken?
It's broken with the live share. You have to type that.
Okay, anyway.
I could. Should I?
No, all good.
I'm going to do the import for you. There you go. You just copied it.
Yes. So again, so we have the Lambda function, which is just the Lambda function resource. Essentially, we don't see it. Yeah. Okay, but it's essentially the Terraform resource in the AWS provider Lambda function. So it needs a name, and it needs a role, which we will provide in a second. And it needs this little asset here. So and so you're going to build like a for start. I think you're just going to build a little well, stuff function more or less. We're going to create a functions folder in a minute, and there we have something like this, I guess.
Should I create it?
Yep.
I can do that in a separate terminal that's not visible, so it's like magic on the left side.
So like what this Node.js function constructor is doing, what Daniel already mentioned is, so like we provide a path so to the function which Ansgar is going to create in parallel. And it's returning deployable, like a path to a deployable artifact. So that's the path, and that's going to be somewhere in the synthesized output directory. Since in the context of Terraform Cloud, we have to have it in like as uploaded file, which we can reference in Terraform Cloud as well. The source code hash, so that we don't deploy this thing all the time. However, I think I saw like in another implementation that this is essentially the asset hash, I believe from the zipped file, which is probably changing all the time. So there's something to do. Yeah, and of course we need a role. So we have to think about what do you want. So we have an API gateway, and the idea that we have is we just hook it up to the Lambda function directly. And we are going to do this and introduce like a little other thing, like the IAM role, which is again like an AWS resource. So we're going to import it. And let's call it Lambda role for now. So then there are two things which are marked as missing. It's policy and IAM, like identity and access management. So I'm using IAM Floyd, which is like a TypeScript package, or like actually like a JSI package from the AWS CDK, which contains all the type information for identity and access management, like actions and like all these things around AWS. So which helps quite a lot. So without digging too much into the documentation, and can import this. And there's a little errors gone. So this says essentially it's like allowing to assume the role, and I think that's the Lambda role. So yes, we do need this for Lambda. That's correct. That the principal is the Lambda service. And the policy document is just a little header, which I also keep carrying around for convenience reasons mostly.
Oh, those who are watching the stream, basically you're able to call any library, whatever language you're using, you're able to call any and import any library that's available and use it within the code, just very similar to how you would be if you were regularly programming some code somewhere.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And that's one of the benefits you get when using CDK, CDK for Terraform, that you have access to like lots of different off-the-shelf tooling. So Node.js function and policy. Oops. Just make a little helper to make the export a bit nicer. And policy document.
I think it's for policy, and then you have
just policy, yeah, true, and then document. As you saw, it's not doing much, but I just can't remember what the version says and how the structure is, so I don't want to care about this. There's also an opportunity to abstract it like a bit more, but like for now, I think that's well, it's good enough. I think we don't really need much more than that.
You could attach the default execution rule from AWS, so our Lambda can log to Cloudwatch.
Yeah.
Should I?
Do you know how this works out of the top of your head?
I've got a piece that knows how it works. Should I type it or should I paste it?
I'm also pasting here like a bunch of things.
Okay.
Yeah, hang on. One thing to note. So like what you see here, like we import all these classes from the AWS provider, and these are all constructs. Like construct is like a library, like the package in the background, which essentially gives us a tree. Like each of these resources is like the stack is like one node in the tree, and all resources in the stack are descendants, like children from that node. And the construct package is like the package that makes this possible in the end, and it gives it like a few methods to traverse the tree and to do things and attach information to each of the individual nodes. And that's one of the reasons why we always pass the current context into this this construct here, which is this, and which would be in Python, I think itself, and in Java, I don't know what it is. And the second argument is always like a name, like a unique name in the context of this, like in this case here, right? So in the context of this class, this name has to be unique. Since in the end it will boil down to like a Terraform resource name, right? And in Terraform you also, I believe you have to have
unique name for each type.
Unique names. Yeah, true. Yeah, true. We don't take the type into consideration there at the moment, but yeah, that's a good point. So
should I extend it? That the role? Should
I? 1 second. Let me just finish it up, and then you can take over. Nope.
That must be hard to type without code completion for you. I don't envy you. Next time I'm going to be the one sharing again.
It's okay.
You just double the name. You should call it something else.
Oh, it's a class name.
Yeah, it's capital.
Yeah.
So that's so Lambda permission is I believe it's tied to I think it's a resource policy, right? Like a resource policy on on the Lambda function.
Oh.
But I'm guessing here.
Right.
So, but to references, we do need the API as an object so that we can actually pass in the execution URL. So which essentially says, okay, this Lambda function here, which we have, this can be called from this API gateway on pretty much any resource. Like you could, I believe, do something like this. But this is just any resource for now. So, and with that, we do have the execution role for the Lambda function. We have the Node.js function itself, which Ansgar created already. And
we need some package for the types for the Lambda.
We do need this package here that provides like a bunch of types. And I'm not sure how useful since I checked this today. It doesn't work. Okay.
Should I?
Yeah.
They are useful actually.
Okay.
So I've worked with them. And so we could take something out of the body or the raw path. So that's the one we are probably going to take. I could maybe just console log it. Or maybe just the whole event because we're lazy. So we can see what's in there. But yeah, whatever I did here is apparently not right. I did that in just some other editor that has not that superb. I thought that it would be allowed to return a result v2, but I think this can also be something else. So you can also return an object and it gets transferred into JSON, but I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do the long way and put a body there. Do JSON stringify. No, I wanted to say hello. And then we got to set a header probably. Oh, I need a comma.
It's optional.
And not, it isn't. Or what's optional? The header.
Like according to the type, at least it's optional. Anyway,
yeah, it is, but I'm returning JSON as a string, and I want my API to understand that. So I'm going to do not application, but content type.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Didn't mean to steal it. Would you go on, or should you, or?
Yeah. So like, so this is a function which Ansgar created, and so when we do, I think we can do a synth already, can't we?
Should work. Diff should also work. I also set the Terraform Cloud workspace to remote execution, so it has the AWS keys that I set over there. I could also show that. Should I?
Oh, that's cool. So you need the AWS keys locally, right?
You don't. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
If you enable this remote execution, and that's not enabled by default when it's created via the CDK TF init. Yeah, let's jump. So this is where we are having our CDK TF, and those are all test runs from GitHub. So that's a lot of noise, but that is 44 minutes ago. And I added some variables, and those are our secrets that I used to connect to AWS. It was done automatically. I personally would have made this secret as well, but apparently it's not. So that's gone out of stuff for now. So yeah, but maybe back to what to do diff soon.
Yeah, right. I did this soon, and yeah, since I can't see ignored files in the live shell, you have to show, like, perhaps you go into the dist folder in functions.
Oh, yeah. So this was generated by ESBuild for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that looks familiar, at least. What's the some mapping?
And that's essentially zipped up, and then when you go to the stack folder, but in CDK tf.out, so that's essentially the archive which is going to be uploaded and referenced in the Node.js function, like in the Lambda function resource of the Terraform provider.
Yeah, so that's probably, if I can type, that is file name archive zip. So Terraform is going to use this zip that the CDK TF asset construct created for us, going to push that to AWS.
Yeah, exactly. So, and in theory, yeah, there's likely something missing, but let's just deploy it anyway and see what's going to happen.
All right. Should we do? Oh, I can't get focus. Oh, the terminal is not allowed to get any higher than that. Oh.
Just clear. Yeah, if you just
Yeah.
clear, yeah, it should. Or if you increase it and then clear it, it might reset itself.
Ah, all right.
Yeah.
I hope so. You meant do diff.
Okay.
Sebastian?
I'm sorry. Diff or like deploy, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm not that adventurous. I think it will fail anyway. No.
Can you explain the difference between diff and deploy for those who aren't as familiar with them?
Yeah. So as we're using Terraform under the hood, the first way to explain it would be the diff is the Terraform plan and the deploy is the Terraform apply. And to those who don't know about Terraform, a diff is just checking what the CDK or what Terraform would change in the cloud. So currently there are no resources deployed from us at AWS yet. So it should, if everything works, just create things. And if there were resources and everything was the same state as we have it locally, nothing would happen. And for deploy, there's also the option to make those changes be applied by Terraform so that Terraform creates our resources and everything. So something failed. I can jump in there. Hopefully not the credentials.
No, we run into every single bug that we that we have.
That happens if you switch from local execution to remote execution without just clearing this folder for once. I think there's even a fix as a PR, probably merged, but not in the release I'm using for the CLI locally. So
it's not merged yet. I'm still fighting CLI bit with that one.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, that only happens if you switch it that way. So that folder is under gitignore, so it wouldn't happen for anyone else on the team, just myself as per soul who started this. But fingers crossed. And we can also have a look over here in the, we can't see the speculative plan, can't we? I should have done the other one. Because it's executing this in Terraform Cloud, I could have a look at it because I'm just doing a diff. That's some plan that's not going to be shown to me. But now I could view it afterwards via this link. Or looks right, I could also, it's still hanging somehow. I got to wait until it finishes, apparently. Or we could have a short look at it. So nothing, speculative plan, as I said. So we can only find it by this link. I think here we can see the output from Terraform.
It's ready now.
Oh, no, it's ready. Okay. So let's do deploy. It's something to figure out. Maybe we could have a look why the CLI seems to keep blocking on that. Maybe Terraform Cloud is still doing things, has not returned yet, although the logs seem to be at that state. So it's doing the same thing, except it's allowing me to apply this plan. So this time I can also make those changes happen.
And that auto approves, right? So it's not like you have to, or do
it doesn't
manually. Oh,
it doesn't. Okay. But I can add an auto approve command line flag, so it would too. I think we might do this for the next one. So it's having the same things again. Going to go with yes. It's now going to start applying, and I can also jump over here because this run is one that's actually doing something. So I can also follow along, but it's just getting initialized. This is the new apply UI, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Gotta admit that I haven't looked into it that deeply yet.
Me neither. That looks really cool.
Yeah, that's nice. This is the new view for those who have not seen Terraform Cloud recently. This is new. Just because I'm curious. So if you in Terraform and you're using HashiCorp configuration language, the variables have a field that say sensitive. Is there something that you can mark within the CDK for Terraform that says this variable is sensitive and mask it?
Yes.
So like the same mechanism. So yeah, also as long as you paste it there in plain text, it's going to be there, of course. But yes, like the output itself. So there's a Terraform output resource or like a construct which you can use, and I believe there's the sensitive flag there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if there is something sensitive, ideally, would you use like a variables construct to mark it as sensitive? Or is there a construct in the CDK that says this is, this will be sensitive, and you don't need a variables construct, right? Because it's very tempting to just pass the fields in directly
That's true. That's something. So if you would do, where am I?
Not sure if you understand this.
Yeah, if I would put a secret here, like secret, then it would of course appear. And if I would use something in the JavaScript side that would put my secret here, maybe load it at synth time, put it there, then it would end up in the cdk.tf JSON, and then it would be kind of exposed. But
yeah,
I just I made it disappear. Oh, I have your edit history as well. Wow. That's hard. Seems right now. Okay. Yeah, so that's something where you can also use a Terraform variable, for example, to get some data in there, and you could pass the value of it inside so in an input or as an argument to other resources. And you could also specify this one then as a command line, also via an environment variable, so it's available to the command line, or in Terraform Cloud as well, where I added the environment variables for the AWS provider, and the same is possible for Terraform variables. So this actually, I think, we could possibly do for the GitHub part, but we got to see how we continue with that.
I was just curious because it was, sensitive variables was a big thing for a lot of people. We actually have an interesting question in chat. What can you tell from your end to the people that have developed a lot using SAM that use CloudFormation and are now trapped with SAM and CloudFormation. Is CDK a good evolving step from SAM?
So the question is about CDK for Terraform, or is the question if SAM?
I think it's, would it be a good idea to refactor your SAM and CloudFormation, existing SAM and CloudFormation, to CDK for Terraform to eventually sort of evolve to something that doesn't use SAM, right? That uses something like Terraform instead. So is CDK a good, CDK for Terraform a good middle step between the two?
It depends, as always, right? So it certainly depends on the use case. So I haven't personally used SAM, so I roughly know what it is, but I haven't really used it. But it's very tailored to the serverless application model and very tailored to AWS services, right? So it does like a bunch of magic in the background, like a Lambda function building and stuff like this. So I believe it comes even with like building blocks, like building constructs more or less for the various runtimes which AWS offers. And as you just saw, that's nothing we have out of the box at the moment. So in terms of if you're heavily relying on this particular workflow in SAM, then I'm not really sure. So I think I know that there are people who try to combine this, like the building blocks of SAM with other frameworks, like AWS CDK, probably CDK for Terraform, probably serverless framework, whatever it is. And so I think like the general question is like if you want to buy into the Terraform ecosystem, and I think then of course like CDK for Terraform is certainly like very, very natural step, since it provides you like a similar experience in terms of you have like code bindings for all the provider resources. And you can model like a similar workflow in comparison to SAM, but you have to model it yourself. So it's not out of the box. I think that's what I'm saying. It's totally capable of doing it, but you have to build like parts of this by your own. Like the abstractions, like such as the Node.js function, which you just saw.
Yeah, so SAM would offer you could use, if you plan on keeping SAM, for example, and you want to use the local testing capability in SAM, you can still use it, but it's not going to be the same kind of integration workflow from testing to deploy. You might get one or two of the first like build and test stages, but you won't necessarily get the deploy. You could substitute, I guess you could substitute CDK for Terraform into the deploy step if you wanted to, as a middle ground. But for the person who asked the question, we're curious to learn what you do with it. So definitely reach out to us. I'm curious to hear how it goes.
Yeah, I just opened.
Yeah, sorry. Good.
For whom? Is it me?
No, it's your time now. That's what I want to say.
All right. I already opened the AWS console, where we can now see there's the Slack hook function, and can open it, have a look at it, see our beautiful JavaScript code, and also see the API gateway. And API with ID doesn't include a path with.
I just paste some code in, so I prepared this already like a bit in the background. So like what we have so far is we do have the Lambda function, we do have the API gateway, we do have the permission that the API gateway can call the Lambda function. However, what we don't have is the routing part. And let me, I'm a bit lost. Hang on, wrong.
Already looking for it. What was it?
I'll share here now. Can you see me scrolling?
I follow you. Yeah.
Awesome. So we do have the Lambda permission. Let's just add a bit more code here.
You ran away. I gotta find the live share thingy to follow you. You're on the left at the bottom, at the top.
So, and are you still here? Yeah. So since I don't have auto completion here, I'm going to change the import statements a bit, so it's not import service from blah, blah, blah. And this makes it way easier for me to not just jump around all the time.
Yeah. AWS dot, and that also helps to find resources that you could provision with the AWS provider, as we just imported all of them under the AWS. How would you say, shortcut, whatever, and
that's like a namespace, right? Yeah. Like a namespace where you can just reference it easily. Which you probably don't want to do if you do this, like if you the front end world, but in the infrastructure backend world, it doesn't matter if you're importing like 10 megabytes of code or so. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right. So what we need is like an integration. So we say we proxy every request from the API gateway to the Lambda function. So we reference Lambda function here. We have to specify, or like we can specify the payload format version. It's like just different payload which is received by the Lambda function, and I think this will fit into what Ansgar wrote there.
Yeah, I'm using the V2.
Okay, cool. And then like any like get, post, put, whatever it is, just map it and catch all, more or less. I'm not entirely sure that's correct syntax, but I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a default stage, means like API gateway has like means to separate staging, production, integration test, whatever it is. But that's going too far right now. And yeah, so when we do like yet another deploy, we might be lucky
that it all works.
that I copied the right parts of the code.
Yeah, I used the different, so for one example, I built with AWS Lambda and the API gateway. I used a different one. I used the API gateway to API resource, and that took less code to do. But yeah, now we have both ways somewhere. I think that one is new or something, but I don't know. Or this one is more powerful.
It's possible that not all of this is actually necessary. But yeah, if it works out, then yeah, it should be okay. And then we should actually see, do we have an output yet? No, we don't.
So to find out where it is.
Yeah. Let's
Should I add
this? Yeah, go ahead.
I also got the power of auto-completion, so very fast. So with a Terraform output, we can make values available even to other workspaces, or for us, have them printed in the CLI. And I'm going to add a new one for the API gateway endpoint. I just call it endpoint. That was half of a question, but there was nothing against it. So I suppose that was right. But now you got to tell me where I find that one, because I don't know about
API.
One. Oh,
API and something
API endpoint.
Yeah, API endpoint.
Okay.
Thanks, auto-completion. I'm so happy that I got it. I think that's I couldn't type it out. No, so edit this, and let's do the auto-proof in there already. Again.
I'm not sure if he. Let's see.
Oh, did I miss something? No.
No.
If that's the right one. So I used the API endpoint with the resource I had at hand, but I think it should be the same, not just my gut feel. Well, I think actually I didn't use a different one, but I think, where's the API at the top?
Application warning.
I set target to it. So
What?
Oh no, never mind. For the Lambda, so I said that I used something different. That's
something.
Yeah.
Something went wrong.
What does it say? Tag error. Received undefined. So that looks like while it was talking to Terraform Cloud, something came in. I think that is this parsing of the results.
Really?
Yeah.
That's probably yeah. I think that's in add next and not in the current.
That's why you told me to install the.
I forgot the reason why, but yeah.
I wanted to have the same experience as if I would just install it and not be that adventurous. But despite the error message that didn't do much besides being noise, we got this output. So we've got the endpoint, and I could take this probably and ask. Oh, it worked.
Amazing.
Nice.
Nice.
It works. First try. I'm impressed.
Yeah. What did you want to build in the end? What time is it? No.
Fine, we'll end it when you feel like ending it.
Oh, if nobody answers your issue, that's why. But let's have a look at our Lambda. And because I did this log in there, I now want to see it as well. So with monitor, I can click on view logs in CloudWatch.
We don't have the permissions, I think. Or did you change it?
No.
Yeah.
It's empty. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Lambda was not allowed to log, so it was lost.
But yeah, we can change the role to just allow logging. That's.
No, there's something to edit as well. So we are having this role, and I can also add this IAM role policy attachment.
Awesome.
And it's even named role, so it's just copy paste, and it's referencing this one, and that is just some default that AWS has. So Cdk deploy auto proof. So I can also have a look over here.
So let's think. So
yeah.
What time is it? Let's perhaps try to get the GitHub hook set up, and then I think we call it a day.
Yeah, so that we get input, and we would have to have CloudWatch logs open to see if
exactly.
GitHub issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we have two providers, like the GitHub provider, which sets up like the webhook automatically in some repository based on the API gateway output, essentially like the API URL, and just send some data there, like whenever you do something, like create an issue, close an issue, create, I don't know, whatever it is.
Yeah. So let's have a look if the logging works. Do we have to create the CloudWatch log group first? No, Lambda can.
No, it should be created automatically.
Yeah, that was ECS that sometimes didn't do that. Or...
But it's usually created with an indefinite time to live. So, and CloudWatch logs are quite expensive when it comes to storage. So you usually want to set it up manually so you can have the retention date set, and it's not adding up on your bill. So does it work or not?
I just called it and it's there.
Yeah. Nice.
So there's my IP address in there. This should be right. Yeah. So this changed. Added that policy and updated the Lambda function. You can see the endpoint. Oh, can even click it here. Word. Nice.
Do you want to add the Cloudwatch retention real quick?
No,
I think
that's complicated.
Oh, it is. It seems too easy.
So you have to now the quick background, now the Lambda function is creating the logwatch group automatically due to the policies there, and you don't have a handle on the Cloudwatch log group. So what you could do is you could create the logwood manually, the Cloudwatch log group manually, set the expire date manually, and then hook it up to the Lambda function that it allows to write to this, and so on and so forth. That's all doable, but I would.
Should we add GitHub?
Yeah, that's
yes.
I want to. All right. So put GitHub in there. Add the just jumped. Why? Add the provider. Yes. Not das. GitHub. And I think it takes it takes a token, so we could set it via some Terraform bar.
Yeah, I think it also takes you can configure via
environment variable.
I think so.
So
you just open your documentation perhaps and see what it expects.
It's so nice that these links are in there now. Just click it and
yeah.
So authentication.
GitHub
you
token.
Can set GitHub token. That's nice for GitHub Actions. And so we wanted to use this test repo you created, Sebastian. Maybe you could add some GitHub token to the Terraform Cloud workspace. So we could use the GitHub provider with that.
Yeah, I will do that.
So I don't have to do anything because GitHub token is configured via Terraform Cloud. Usually I would write that down now in some kind of README, but nope. And yeah, let's see. We wanted to do something with GitHub, and another way to find out what you could do with it is not just digging through the code, but you could also use the Terraform docs, and we want some webhook, organization webhook, but no, isn't there also
the search?
Oh, I got to scroll. There are more coming at the bottom. Yeah, repository webhook. That's right. So there's a repository and there's a repository webhook, which goes onto some name. And takes a configuration. Active, false, events, issues. Oh, can even use that one. So
cool. I'm going to take over now.
I'm
going to take over now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Should I copy this into the code as a comment so you could just orient with that? It's a different syntax, but okay.
Yeah, I'll do it without.
Okay.
Can
just
you
take over
again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So we first need the repository, right? We don't want to create that. So we use the data source. It should be data.
Isn't it just referring to a name? Do we need it at all? Is there some kind of underlying ID? Because they're creating it in the example.
It's referring by name, you're right.
Maybe
that's right. Yeah, we could just use the then let's use the normal name and just use the repository backcode. So what do we need? We need the repository.
Should I autocomplete it?
No, it seems to work now. Maybe you can paste in the repository. I forgot the name. That would be cool.
Sebastian has you. But I can
what?
the
What's your
repo, your test repo, where we would find all the issues for testing.
Like as Kaufman / GitHub - webhook.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm adding I set to active, I set a configuration now, which yeah, allows me to specify how to send the webhook over. So the configuration takes a URL. It would be the API endpoint. Over here real quick, because we first need the API, then the other one. Not that the order matters, but for TypeScript it does. So API endpoint we need. Content type we need. Sure, the provider documentation doesn't mention anything. I assume that JSON would work.
Should I go to the docs?
Yeah, the docs don't mention anything around that. Oh no, they mention either form or JSON. I just didn't read.
Oops. I'm just going around, but I'm going to jump back now. So.
Good, yeah. And for events, we only want to be notified about issues, I guess. Over here. So that should create the webhook. Yeah. Let's give it a run. Give it a run. My channel is kind of blocked here. Live share exploded somehow. Oh no, I can do it.
Okay, you should be able to type.
Yeah, previously, I don't know, it was kind of strange, but with you resizing, live share fixed itself.
Yeah, it's probably just way too major version or 2 updates from VS Code, and then it's all perfect.
Yeah, probably.
Really nice to control the other, or be able to control the other person's window as well. So you could point at files while I'm not here.
Yeah.
Error.
Hey, I'm pretty sure the code team actually codes on Twitch too. We could raid the stream sometime.
Oh, the name attribute is not necessary. I just removed that and run it again.
But how does it know which? Oh, there was name and repo. Or...
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay. I was wondering how it would infer the repo.
Oh, yeah. I also didn't read the name thing, and name is optional and only has the value web. So Vengeance Web is the default and only option. So yeah.
So what's the name for the webhook?
Yeah, I expected the same.
Okay.
So I choose review name of that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to head over to the browser so we can look at the run. So it's currently, the plan worked, so it could connect to GitHub, and it said it wants to create a webhook or URL.
Nice.
And now the reply is running. And organization to be set on the provider. You need to set as Kaufman on the provider and possibly remove it from the repo, I'd say.
Yeah, probably. That's good to know. I didn't know that it was the provider was scope to one.
Yeah, maybe show it shortly. So this.
Yeah, makes sense. The name for the repo resource also is not mentioning like the organization.
Are we sure that this works?
No.
I mean,
in like 5 minutes, yes.
Yeah, let me come up with a backup plan.
What's your satisfaction then?
That you actually need that the Terraform provider only works within organizations.
No, I won't think so.
€5.
Okay, I'm gonna invite you to a beer.
Bet.
Yeah. Oh! Ox. Oh no! Okay.
Oh no.
Yes, on me.
Okay.
No problem.
That's great, one.
Wait a second.
Use CDK
You can use
minus
owner.
dev.
Wait a second. I just read the docs and there says like you can use owner or organization.
Ah, okay.
And it
So-
seems like owner is the right thing here because
Oh, sorry. Where does it belong?
exactly there, owner should
Oh.
be.
It didn't autocomplete.
Yeah, it does also fail. Maybe we have a old version in the like an older version than I'm looking at here.
They should
Specified.
automatically put the new ones. So
I'm not sure. Can you take a look at the pre-built version?
Yeah.
yeah. So provider
2.0 or what's like major version 2 or 3?
The provider uses 4.11.
Oh.
And it's
Okay.
the one I'm looking at. So
Then the previous provider needs an update.
cool.
Yeah, but
Let's take
then-
this offline, but we can do it now by hand, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
We can go to this one, to the CDK JSON, and then we're going to see this whole magical synthesization process live, which it takes not too long, but long enough that it can be annoying in like CI environments. So that's why we prefer to use the pre-built ones. And
Yeah, should we remove that one? Oh, we don't need to.
It doesn't matter.
We can
We just change the path there.
Yeah.
So run cdk get, and that now downloads everything, and you see the .gen folder pop up over here, and this generates the provider bindings in TypeScript. See everything.
GitHub.
So back in the main TS, I'm going to change now the provider GitHub to /
I gotta follow you again. I need a
faster.
shortcut. There's probably a shortcut with some short overlay and then type and click, but
Yeah, I think this is the path. But yeah, it is. Oh, damn, that's good. So let's see again. Now we have the new provider in place. Did an update there. Probably have to do to take home to update these pre-built ones automatically.
Scanning. Let's have a look over here. The runs. So both of us were correct.
Yeah.
No, but you are right with the provider version.
Yeah, I just remembered that I was using it last year, and yeah, so I was stumbling about exactly the same issue. But yeah, in the meantime, there were 2 new major versions, so yeah, and it got added, which is quite good.
Can work. Now it's working on the apply.
I feel like I need to turn on music. Unfortunately, we had to avoid background music now. But you know that I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to play some waiting music.
Some elevator music.
Yeah.
Some browser plugin for such things that, for example, in GitHub Actions, when you're waiting and looking at it, it just starts control Spotify. But it's finished already, so we didn't even have the channels to look at it.
So which means, so I have to check. I think you can't see it on your screen, right? But
yeah, because I'm not allowed.
when I look at the webhooks, it's
I don't have the text.
yes, I do see the webhook. So in theory, when
Should I create a new issue?
yes,
All right. Test issue. This is the content. All right. Should I add an image? Okay, I won't. Submit. Quite empty, but can set multiple. Cloudwatch. Would it be this invocation of the Lambda? No. That was me clicking on the link, but we deployed afterwards.
So the webhooks were successful. So at least they succeeded.
This was designed for failure. So there's lots.
But yeah, that's pretty much the payload.
Yeah. So here's requests with some headers from GitHub. Also.
Yeah. Nice. So we got that integrated now.
Even some hook ID. I guess we could find that one in the Terraform state somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so
that's the event payload from the actual GitHub webhook.
Okay, so I got to search for test, so I can find my I wrote content in there, but it doesn't add the content. It just said that there's a new issue probably. So if someone would write a very long text, it doesn't try to send that. I just
good point. Yeah.
So what issue number 4? Let's search for 4 in here. That's the worst thing you could do. No, that isn't it. Or maybe that was another one.
It's probably there.
Number 4.
It's probably there.
Content URL? Like there's usually like a content URL field, right? That tells you where. Maybe not.
No.
But there was also just put it to GQ.
There was also another event. Maybe that was some test from GitHub. Yeah, it was. Probably when installing a webhook, GitHub does a test so that they know that that webhook works. Slack does the same thing for Slack apps. So just to confirm that there's a 200 or something out of it. So that was probably just some test event or some info you were installed as a webhook. And now we got this one over here. This looks more like issue number 4, title test issue. This is what I added.
Right.
Look,
so
5 lines below, there's also this is the content.
Oh wait, content. Oh no. That's a
but yeah,
preference.
it works.
Yeah, that is. We can even print the content in the DM messages that we want to send to Slack later.
Nice. But that's for next time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just to show the last magic piece that happened in the background, because Sebastian did that and maybe others haven't seen or it was kind of lost. So with the variables, we also added, oh, I got to refresh so that we can also see the new one. We also added the GitHub token so that the provider could create a webhook for us. So that was the missing piece. But this way, I didn't have to do a thing, and I don't know the secret token in the end. So that's nice.
I'm going to delete it anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
I will say this is the smoothest like 3-person pairing that I've ever seen. Like between the coordination of secrets and then typing. We didn't expose any secret. I hope we didn't expose any secrets while we were on this. And most of us are none the wiser as to what token you're using. So it's actually, I think it was, we got it working, which is the first, usually we don't get it working for the first time. It takes a couple.
Yeah, our goal was a bit higher. We wanted to post to Slack afterwards. So of course we would need to add this somewhere here now. So it would call Slack. But we haven't set that up yet. And also DynamoDB to save where we are or where we want to store data. But if someone is very interested in how would DynamoDB fit in, we have some examples, and we also have examples for containerized applications. So I think they're linked in our README or are going to be soon. So
nice.
Yeah, but we'll add that.
All right. Awesome. There are no more questions in the chat right now, but I think this was really interesting. I did clip a few things because I think it's really valuable. But some things that I did learn in this pairing is that it's actually a really easy to use the constructs that the CDK for Terraform is offering across multiple providers. These are resources. The resource naming matches very closely to what Terraform would be using, and so you're able to interpret it. I also really like how you have the dialogue that comes up and it shows you the resource information, the documentation for the resource information as well. That's super helpful. And if anybody in the chat has any other questions, etc., you're welcome to direct them to me and I will ask the team. Maybe we will have you all on here for the second half of it. Otherwise, I will leave it to you to figure out whether or not you want to tackle that live or you want to tackle it on offline. But with that, is there anything else that you all want to show, or we can close the stream?
There's so many things to show, but I think we could go on for hours.
Yeah.
No, not from my side.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. I appreciate you coming on. This was actually a really fantastic pairing opportunity. I was very impressed with it. Usually we're like all fumbling with trying to figure out the keys and trying to figure out who has access. And I like how there was a timer. I should have probably just used the overlay and run the timer from my side. For those who are tuning in, thank you for joining us. We're going to have our next stream, I think in July, I think it's July 16th. We're going to have Renan and Jackie, and they're going to, I believe, be doing a live dojo, I think, of Nomad. I'm not sure. But if you're interested, tune in. We're going to take a break in the early part of the month, and then we'll be back on the first and third Friday schedule. All right, with that, I am going to close the stream. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you CDK for Terraform team. I posted plenty of links in the chat, and if you want to learn more about the CDK for Terraform, I also posted the GitHub repository for the Terraform CDK. So you're welcome to check out the issues and learn a little bit more. With that, have a fantastic weekend.